for those of you that have not heard of them, they're kind of wild. They're basically this digital collectible that is, Doug, you might be able to explain this better than I can. Would you like to give it a try? Because I don't think I'm going to make any sense to anyone.
Sure, I'll do my best. I'm going to skip over certain parts that would be too deep of a rabbit hole to go down. But yeah, they're a digital asset that's built on this new technology called blockchain technology, which is an extra complex form of a database that is nearly impossible to hack compared to the databases we live in now. And we hear about all the breaches going on. This is a new technology that's extra secure, but they also have something that's very intriguing, which is called a smart contract attached to the NFT. And what that means is you can build in a predetermined set of rules for this digital collectible. For example, let's say I'm an artist and I make one painting and I make a digital version of it and I put it for sale. I could have as part of the smart contract, whoever owns this, and it wouldn't be something that nobody could copy, it would be tied back to me on the blockchain they would always have this authenticity element that nobody could fake. But I could put in a clause to the smart contract that comes with it that if that person resells it, which they're welcome to, 10% of what they get, and I'm making up 10%, it could be anything, comes back to me as the original creator. So if this thing appreciates in value and keeps trading hands, every time it does, myself as the original artist gets a cut every time. And everybody knows that going in, and the people that are into this do this in a way to support the creators of whatever this digital collectible might be. So that's kind of a simple explanation.
And can you explain why they're called non-fungible tokens?
It wasn't the best. It probably wasn't a marketing person that came
why
up
it's so fun to say.
Yeah, fungible makes me think of a mushroom. Not the best name, and I think that's why it's been shortened to NFTs. And I think it'll eventually just be NFTs, and it won't matter what it stands for.
But you can find these, NBA players, a lot of athletes, artists, as Doug mentioned, a lot of big money there. Maybe at the beginning of the year, kind of slowed down a little bit, but I've started to see wine companies do this. We've actually, I think, had one or two that have done that. Would you, though, buy an NFT of a beer? Because this kind of goes back to that first question of what would you pull off a heist for? Would you be willing to purchase an NFT of your favorite beer?
If you don't mind, because I can loop my answer into like a further explanation of why these I think have a lot of potential in the future. So I'll use my example of what the beer I would do a heist for. Lost Abbey's Cable Car Creek. Let's say that the Lost Abbey decided to take that original artwork of the painting of a cable car that's on this bottle, turn that into an NFT, which somebody immediately would say, who's a naysayer would say, well, I could just go to Google Images and print that out. Why would I pay money for it? But the idea is that if the Lost Abbey and maybe in conjunction with the original artist created this NFT of it, that NFT would probably come with some other kind of benefit, ideally something that money can't buy. So let's say that as the owner of the Cable Car Creek NFT, every time Cable Car comes out, you're guaranteed an allotment of 3 of this rare beer that normally only each person can only buy 1 of, and it sells out in a day. But as an owner of one of these NFTs, you get this kind of special access. And then maybe you also get once a year Zoom tasting with the founder or the head brewer to drink through one of the bottles. And whoever's the holder of this NFT token gets that special access and special privilege along with it. And that's where I think the real potential with these four could be. In the alcohol space and in the beer space, it's a stretch. I think it's a ways away. So this is an example of like how it could happen and not be this crazy thing where it's like, well, why would I do that? I could just print out this file or save the file to my computer. It's not really about that. It's about the rarity of it and the privileges that could come along with it.
So I have a question about this that you might be able to answer, Doug, because one of the things that occurred to me with with that question is, you know, the NFT basically said it confers ownership of something to someone. And because it's tied to blockchain technology, it's really difficult, if not impossible, to kind of forge that. And so, you know, it belongs to you definitely because you have the code for that NFT. Can you tie that to a physical thing? Is there like a code or something that would go physically on that bottle of beer that would tie that specifically to a producer? And what I'm getting at is I'm reminded of a story that I saw last year at some point, and it's probably popped up a few times, and I know it has in the wine world too, where people are making forgeries of famous beers and wines where they'll mimic the label and they'll just kind of throw a bunch of stuff into a bottle and package it up and make it look like something that sells for a lot of money and then sell this forgery. So would this NFT give somebody the ability, or a brewer the ability to say, this is the genuine article?
Yeah, what a lot of artists are doing now, like let's say you make a paint, you're a famous artist, you live in New York City, and you're you have a studio, and you're selling a very expensive painting because your artwork demands it. What they're doing right now is selling the physical painting, but then you also get the NFT of it with it. And then in theory, you'd never want to buy that painting off somebody, which is known to have come with an NFT version, unless you're also getting the NFT with it. So it's almost like a certificate of authenticity, but in the digital world that comes along with it, that kind of proves and helps track the chain of custody of something that's more of a physical object. And I think with the wine example that Jonathan shared in the article, I think they used some kind of barcode or like a QR code on the bottle. I can't explain exactly how this works in terms of proving authenticity, but they kind of addressed it as something that they would put on the physical bottle that links back to the NFT itself, that helps prevent the ability for it to be faked.
Yeah, and the other benefit I could see is if you did tie that in with that, as beers end up going through the secondary market, maybe once or twice or whatever, you could potentially have the owner or the brewer receiving benefits from that. I don't know if that's a possibility either.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, beer won't be legal to sell on the secondary market ever, so I don't know how that part would work. But yeah, you do, the chain of custody is a public thing, not the name and physical address of the person that owned it, but you can see these things called digital wallets where you store these. The easiest example, if anybody's ever used Apple Wallet for like a ticket stub, that's how I get into like a Chicago White Sox game now. I get the ticket in my Apple Wallet. An NFT can work kind of similar, but you can see how many times it changed place, and like you probably wouldn't want a barrel-aged stout that's changed hands 12 times before you get it, and that certainly happens and has happened before.
Yeah.
Does this change an aspect of the democratization of beverage alcohol in a way? Like if we look at it from this perspective of the variety of options that exist now are wider and more varied than ever, opening up all these kinds of flavor experiences and beverages for so many people. Like this, and Doug, I'm thankful that you're here to kind of break this down, because this is the first time beyond making jokes about non-fungible tokens as 3 words that are put together in sequence. It does, like, I find it really interesting as like it's another aspect that can be powerful, but also has this kind of devil's advocate side to it, because there's the literal part of gatekeeping that comes along with it. And for those who would find these most valuable personally, or the businesses that could use it, like there's a very practical real world aspect. Money goes to artists, money goes to the people who created it, but still effectively makes those unique special experiences or opportunities still to a select number of people. Not to poo-poo what this natural evolution of the technology is, but so much as I think when we talk about experiential goods and the way that we want to try to have those be available to as many people as possible, the specialty of what this brings with it inherently kind of levels up that kind of beer trading atmosphere community that we've experienced so far into an entirely different way.
Yeah, I think craft beer would be very sensitive to it, and I think it would come down to how the brewery goes about it. And if they go about it, of course, that this is for charity. You know, I've done charity auctions where I raffled off a special access to something at Revolution that was more of just a one-time thing, not this ongoing contract. But you know, whoever paid the most got to have this cool experience, and then all the money went to the local children's hospital. Nobody's going to complain about that. And then there's other levels where it could be more like, you know, artwork is so important to craft beer, and you know, are all artists paid fairly? Probably not. Maybe this could be done as a way to add to, for breweries to say, hey, we make so many labels, we cannot afford to pay, you know, the X $1,000 per label, but this person is so talented, they deserve it. Maybe we're going to create, in partnership with them, one NFT of every beer label we do, and then the collectors out there who just love the art and love the idea that they would own the only one of these, or maybe you make it one of 5, and then there's 5 out there. It's just this other collectible thing, and it's kind of the way things are going that I know are hard for some people to wrap their head around. But I think there would be people interested in that. And again, if you sell it as like, this isn't just the brewery trying to maximize profits because there's this other thing we could be selling. We're not trying to put more money in our pocket. We're trying to, you know, help our artists, you know, make a better living as a result. And so there's another way you could spin it. And then you could go on and on with other ways. Those are 2 that come to mind as a way to present it that probably would go over pretty well.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, I, as a consumer and also very much in the brewery marketing aspect, I see a huge value in that. Every craft beer drinker, I mean, obviously has a favorite brewery that they either follow or look out for specific releases every year. I mean, for me, I know I fangirl about a few different breweries. I'm a huge Belgian fan. So Delirium is kind of like one of those for me. Like if I had one of those tokens, I mean, that would be the coolest thing in the world. And I know people do, you know, bottle shares, even doing like a vertical, you get like the same beer that's barrel aged year after year after year. And all of a sudden somebody comes in with 10 of them. I mean, imagine that with just like labels and having these special tokens for people to have a piece of a brewery that nobody else has. Everyone wants to feel valuable and special in the brewery's eyes. Why not give them this opportunity to do that? So I would see it happening sooner rather than later, to be honest.
Hey, Lindsay, I'm curious, as someone who is like exists in that marketing space and thinks about that all the time. Pardon me for putting you on the spot, but I think you raised a really great point. And I'm curious, like when you've either, you know, with businesses that you know or worked with or peers, like something unique and different happened in the marketing space for beer. Like when was the last time that you think you heard about or experienced something that felt unique and new, kind of like what we're talking about now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the first thing that will jump out with me was last year with the Black is Beautiful. That was something that now, because it's going to be happening again this year, people, I mean, have been messaging me and asking me like, where can I get this? Where can I get this? And last year it's like, you know, every beer had their own rendition. And I was lucky enough to be able to go to a bottle share and try a different, you know, variety of them from local to national levels. But I feel like that's something that if they're, you know, whether it's Souls in Texas, if they were coming up with something very unique for that Black is Beautiful collab and their different rendition, I feel like people would go crazy for it. So something like that, locally, Court Shoes Only for our Queen City Beer Fest that we didn't have happen last year. Every brewery pretty much in Charlotte had a double IPA rendition of it. And a lot of Charlotte beer people were bouncing from brewery to brewery, trying these double IPAs just so they can check off all of them or, you know, complete their bingo board, I guess. But people are into that kind of stuff, whether it's a scavenger hunt or, you know, collect them all. or, you know, even with artwork, like you said, with labels. I mean, I know when I just like post like really pretty beer cans with a really pretty label, people go crazy over it and they don't even care what it says. It's like pulling a beer off of a shelf. You don't even see what the label says or what it is. You're like, that's beautiful. I need it. It's instant.
No, and you guys bring up some good points that I didn't even think of when I posed this question, but it really could be a cool way to get to experience the craft beer world and have something that is yours. And never even thought of the beer can art, because that is a huge thing on social media, and even just the charity side, which, you know, breweries are very well known for as being part of the community. That could go so many different ways. And Doug, I feel like Revolution, you might be pitching this at the next meeting.
Yeah, I would like to point out that we just created a marketing plan. So thank you, Doug, for the lift there.
Craft breweries aren't the fastest to evolve to new technologies. You know, we've seen, I joked about TikTok earlier, but like every brand in every industry is on TikTok right now, except craft breweries. I'm not saying none are. Some
I also say I actually know a lot of Charlotte ones that their videos have gone to 1 million to 500,000 viral because putting donuts in it, or, you know, having something explode. It's
I was hoping it went to 1 million for a better reason.
Oh, yeah.
You're not helping, Lindsay.
I've seen some that's like like one of the local ones here, they did a collab with Krispy Kreme, and it's literally a whole Krispy Kreme box being just dunked into the tank, and Krispy Kreme reposted it, and so the TikTok went